All right, I hope that anyone who's playing very loud music won't disturb me, but we may have to pause. God willing, we won't have to. So the last, what we covered was send away a mother bird before taking its children. Now, this is not that you go out of your way to send away a mother bird in order before you take its children. Rather, to only take it if you need it and make sure the mother's not there while you take away its children. Okay, to release the mother bird if she was taken from the nest. Not to swear falsely in God's name, not to take God's name in vain, not to deny possession of something that was entrusted to you, not to basically deny that you possess it, not to swear in denial of a monetary claim, to swear in God's name, to confirm the truth when deemed necessary by court, to fulfill what was uttered and to do what was avowed, not to break oaths or vows. For oaths or vows that were annulled, they're to follow the specific laws that are for annulling vows explicit in the Torah. The Nazir, the Nazirite, must let his hair grow. He must not cut his hair. He must not drink wine, a wine mixture, wine vinegar. He should not eat fresh grapes. He should not eat grape skins. He should not be under the same roof as a corpse. He should not come in contact with the dead. He should not shave his head after bringing his sacrifice. He should shave his head after bringing a sacrifice if he becomes impure, or upon the completion of his Nazirite period. And then to estimate the value of people as determined by the Torah or consecrated Adam. The next commandment is to estimate the value of people as determined by the Torah, consecrated animals, consecrated houses, and consecrated fields. This means that when people dedicate themselves or their possessions or their animals or their house to the temple, we should value it. And there's specific rules about how to value it. For example, I think it goes by, they say a certain amount of shekels for a man, a woman, under a certain age, over a certain age, which animals. But we have to keep in mind also that this is specifically because in those days that shekel could have been a month's work. So we also have to take into account that we need people to properly interpret the Torah. That's why we are supposed to have a rabbi who could properly be an interpreter. But now, not every rabbi is a best fit for everyone. It does say we're supposed to acquire a rabbi for ourselves. We should not forget what Amalek's atrocities were to us, to ambush us on our journey from Egypt in the desert. And specifically, I want to say that the reason is because they went out of their way. It wasn't like they needed anything from us. They didn't want our territory, our women. They just wanted to harm us. They cut off the penises of the men of the tribe of Dan, which was in the hindquarters of the procession. And they cut off the penises as a way to say, oh, look, see, they're circumcised, but we're still going to get them. Apparently, some say that they were not circumcised in the desert. Some say that was why. This is just interpretations. Not everybody says this. It's not written outright in the Torah. But anyway, just the point was that they went out of their way. It's like you just hate someone for no reason and hurt them. And that's completely against the Torah, basically. And not to forget that Amalek actually did that. To offer peace. Okay, what's the next couple rules over here? Not to dwell permanently in Egypt. Not to offer peace. To offer peace terms to the inhabitants of a city while holding siege and treat them according to the Torah if they accept it. In other words, if they are willing to follow the rules, to offer them peace. Peace doesn't mean they become Jewish. It just means that they don't do idol worship in Israel, or they don't do things specifically against the Torah. Let's continue. To carry out the laws of interdicting. I don't even know what I wrote here. To follow the laws of the possessions that are cherem, which is the interdicting, basically the possessions that are considered here the consecrated items. So not to sell the cherem and not to redeem the cherem. This is what was given to the temple. Not to plant diverse seeds together. I mentioned that before, but before we mentioned specifically with a vineyard. Now it's not to plant diverse seeds together at all, but also not to plant grains and greens in a vineyard. Remember earlier we said not to plant, basically that we can't eat diverse seeds that are planted in a vineyard. Now it says we shouldn't even plant grains or greens in a vineyard. We shouldn't plant diverse seeds together. We shouldn't crossbreed animals. We shouldn't even work different animals together. I heard an example that we shouldn't work an ox and a donkey because the donkey looks over and sees the ox is always chewing its cud. Sorry, a bull. We see the bull is always chewing its cud, and a donkey thinks he's still eating, but really he's chewing his rumination. And so just the idea that we shouldn't work one that's much stronger. Some animals are strong for a short period. Some animals are strong for a long period, but they go very slow. So we shouldn't force an animal to be against its nature. Torah is very sensitive to every single animal's nature. One thing is we're not allowed to wear a mixture of cloth woven from wool and linen. It's called shatnez. We're not allowed to leave we're not allowed to reap the corner basically we have to leave a corner of the field uncut for the poor. I think it's called peah. And we're not allowed to reap that corner, and we should leave also gleanings. Gleanings are things that fell off while we're gathering. We shouldn't gather the gleanings. We should leave the gleanings also of a vineyard. We should not gather the gleanings of a vineyard. So you see here, some of it's a little double. You see how important it is. We're not only supposed to not take what we're supposed to leave for the poor, but we're supposed to leave for the poor. So it's a double transgression if you collect the things that you're supposed to leave for the poor and you didn't leave it for the poor. We're supposed to wipe out the descendants of Amalek. We're supposed to remember exactly what Amalek did to the Jewish people. Basically, this is the one time in Torah we're told to truly have a grudge. Truly, truly, truly have a grudge. Like no forgiveness ever. And apparently this nation is supposed to be completely killed out by the time of the full redemption of the time of the Torah. The revealed Torah by the time of Mashiach. To leave the unformed clusters of the grapes. Oh, wait, did we say not to gather the gleanings of a vineyard? To leave the unformed clusters of grapes. This is called olilos. It's basically when a cluster doesn't fully form. So you're supposed to leave it for the poor. Not to pick the unformed clusters of grapes. Not only to leave it, but to not pick it. To leave the forgotten sheaves in the field, not to retrieve them. But not if you didn't forget them. If you left some sheaves for later, you go back and get them. But this is if you forgot them. And then you realize, oh, I forgot some. You don't need to go get it. You can leave that. Because poor people would live off that. This was from a time that was how people had food. They grew their food. And they went to the marketplace. If someone didn't have money and didn't have land, they had no way to get food. So this was supposed to be a way that people look out for each other. You let poor people come with your vineyard, with your greens, with your fruits, with your veggies, and they can come and take and from the corners of the field, from in your field. And there's mitzvahs to be giving charity and to be giving. So it says to separate a tithe for the poor, and to give charity, and to not withhold charity from the poor, to set aside truma gadola, which is a gift for the kohen, and a Levite must set aside 1/10 of his tithe as well. I mentioned this, not to preface 1/10 to the next, but separate them in their proper order. A non-Kohen must not eat truma. A non-priest cannot eat truma. A hired work of the Jewish bondsman of a Kohen must not eat truma. An uncircumcised Kohen, an uncircumcised priest cannot eat truma. An impure Kohen must not eat truma. A chalila, remember I mentioned earlier, was the people born from a high priest with a widow or a divorcee, or a Kohen with a divorcee. A Kohen is allowed to be with a widow. Should not eat truma. To set aside the tithe, the meiser of each planting each year, and to give it to a Levite. To set aside a second tithe, which is called meiser sheni. Not to spend its redemption money on anything but food and drink or ointment. In other words, the second tithe, if it's redeemed by value, you shouldn't use it for anything but food, money, or ointment. Let's say you don't want to bring the tithe because you set aside a tithe. There's like bundles and bundles of figs and dates and pistachios and corn, and you don't want to carry all this to Jerusalem where you have to eat it, right? So instead you take away or like basically to give it. So instead you sell it, then you take the money, and then you could buy food and drink with that or ointment. And you shouldn't eat meiser sheni while you're impure. In other words, you have to wait till you're pure and in Israel, in Jerusalem. Okay, a mourner on the first day after death must not eat meiser sheni. We are told to read the confession of the tithes every 4th and 7th year. So basically, the 7th year, the Shemitah, and the 4th year is the year after the meiser sheni. Is the year from after the meiser. This is by the time following meiser sheni, we actually have to confess, I have done all the tithing I was supposed to. We should set aside the first fruits and bring them to the temple. We should, this is called bikurim. Let's say you grow some beautiful lemons. The first of the lemons, the best of the, we would say it's the best, right? The firstborns of the lemon you bring to the temple. The Kohanim must not eat of the first fruits outside of Jerusalem. We are told the rule is that we have to read the Torah portion pertaining to their presentation, and we also have to set aside a portion of dough from every dough we make for the priest. We should give a foreleg, the foreleg, the two cheeks, and the abdomasum, which I think is part of the choicest parts of the animal, of the slaughtered animals, to a priest, to a Kohen. We should give the first shearing of the sheep to a Kohen. We should redeem our firstborn sons and give the money to the Kohen. We have to redeem the firstborn donkey by giving a lamb to a Kohen. We have to break the neck of the donkey if the owner does not intend to redeem it. We have to rest on with the sheep. We have to rest the land on the 7th year by not doing any work which enhances growth. We are told we should not work the land in the 7th year, and I will stop here in part 3 of our 613 commandments and continue with part 4 next time. Now, because this is the final video I'll be recording before the Sabbath, I would like to give us a blessing that we can connect with our broken-hearted yearnings and our wholehearted yearnings, and where we can be connected with our most subtle body forms, and to feel at ease and to feel well and to feel connected and to be feeling God with us, and to have more than enough money, as much as we need, and to treat people really well with that money, and ourselves, of course, and to be kind and to recognize shame-based connections and to release all of them, and to release any old structural integration of the body that used to hold us in a specific position, and to love our inner baby, and not to, and whether it's a big fat ugly baby feeling, just to be really, really loving of that baby so that we could start again from the original baby and grow into who we are now from our original baby, because we grew with our collagen and our cartilage into a position, into a posture that would allow us to survive. But as we grow, we don't have to continue to hold that position anymore. So may we be healthy and fit and in shape and eat healthy and nutritious and tasty, and may the portal that we enter now be one where we don't even have to ask so much. Nature accommodates us, where we don't have to curse people or get angry at people, and God helps us to speak good words. And if we do have to curse or get angry, we recognize that we're a work in progress, but the goal is to not get angry, and to not think that we know everything, and to recognize we can't force anyone to do anything. We can't make people believe us. We can't make people listen. We can't make people like us. We can't make people love us. We can't make people respect us. And to be in full peace with that. And to practice just not getting angry about anything. Just to see what happens and see maybe we're being redirected to something better. Have a great Shabbos. Bye.